Good afternoon. I hope we've got the live stream working okay on the comeback from international football. Good afternoon. Yep, sounds good. So if you could just sign in. Thanks very much, Stephen. Appreciate that. Nice and quick. Cheers. So good start with Tottenham, but we're on that tightrope, aren't we, this weekend? You already saw it last night. Dortmund just scraping a win after a very poor 1-0 start and a 1-1.
1-0.
Antwerp losing, not Antwerp, Anderlecht losing. Sporting Lisbon struggling to win with a very, very late goal. All of them involved in the Europa League, Champions League. So just be careful of that today. That's why I did warn you about the Spuds. But obviously, the in-play stats helped us out hugely there. Just to confirm that they were up and at them today. Hi, Mango, Tim, Trevor and Alan. Thank you very much for signing in. And Trading Rod,
Goal.
very nice to see you as well.
Südtirol Pisa is 1-0.
That's Dr. Stephen Hawking. I hire him every weekend to tell me the scores. And you can see Trabzonspor and Istanbulspor. You'd be expecting Trabzonspor to open the scoring, but it looks as if Istanbulspor have scored first. Just waiting for confirmation of that. In the meantime, don't forget the German Bundesliga, 67% over 2.5 goals this season. So prepare yourself. I tend to try to wait for 15 minutes for a potential assault on the overs markets for our friends in Germany. I think I've got all of my very short priced favourites listed here. The idea behind this, these will be the standout matches for goals. You can see already the translation, short odds to goals, short odds to goals. I wouldn't be playing these type of leagues though. I would be keeping it very strong favourites in leagues that I know. Wouldn't be touching this. I've already warned you about the split between the relegation group and the championship group. Turns up some very odd results. The odds-on favourites tend to die a death in that competition. So these are my shorties where I'd be expecting to see at least 2 goals today, or I'd expect an opportunity to have a trading profit. It doesn't mean it will be over 2.5 goals. But we're expecting goals, of course, but don't forget, we're walking a thin rope between post-international for these big guns, particularly by Leverkusen. A lot of their stars would have got international duty after last season. Some of the Hoff players, I suggest, might be in Poland, that kind of country, international-wise. And, of course, Bayern Munich do tend to fall foul pre and post. Particularly, I'm not too impressed with the manager. I think he might be on the shortlist to depart soon. Stuttgart have been very buoyant pre-Champions League, so watch out for them. They've been winning away from home. You remember what they did against Mönchengladbach recently, pre-Champions League again. So they're a side who could offer a banana skin against Bayern. I'd certainly be laying a Bayern lead if it's short enough. This is the weekend where you'll catch these big boys out. Real Madrid away from home later on as well. That's going to be a struggle. Not so for Atletico Bilbao. Absolutely dominant force today. Brilliant display from them. Didn't give us an opportunity to profit from them, alas. So those are all our shorties. They're all waiting to start. You can see the Premier League is absent today of the shorties. By shorties, I mean about 1.35 and lower odds. I would still look on interest with these 1.5 to 1.7 shots at home. They do tend to deliver, but of course, Man United can't read them at all. A side you can't read is a side you can't trade. So you'll excuse me if I don't show any enthusiasm for the Red Devils today. French League Dirt doesn't look like Ajaccio is going to get anything there. Bologna are starting brightly against Genoa. And you can check out any European action upcoming just to pre-warn you in case there is a slip-up. For example, with Bologna, I remember recently they've played Liverpool, haven't they? They're away from home today. That's a potential banana skin. for a pre-Champions League side. You'll see here at uk.soccerway.com all of the matches in all competitions, and you'll see Champions League against Aston Villa. That's going to be a tough encounter indeed for Bologna. Another potential 2-0 there, I think, after the buoyant win against Bayern Munich for Aston Villa and old Dick Emery. So watch out, Bologna. That's where my enthusiasm suddenly wanes after seeing this promise. But if you're looking at this promise, you can look at the half-time market.
Medina Palermo is 0-1.
To dip a toe in. Okay? So we can hop on over there. And you just saw my Bitcoin graph there. It's looking very... And they've just scored, them bastards.
Goal.
When you see that in the
Genoa
future,
Bologna is 0-1.
think half-time market. That's the best way to dip a toe in and have a play. You've got a number of options. Half-time score, I'd like perhaps a 0-1, 0-2 in the Bologna case, because there's enough time left, 10 minutes to go, for a buoyant in-play stats for them to get the goal. 0-2 is where you want it. Probably get 9-1, something like that. Half-time market as well, lay the draw. First half goals, no, it's been disallowed. So we might get another go at this one. Bologna goal disallowed, and you saw they thoroughly deserve it. So wait for this market to reform. It's just reacting to suspending and then unsuspending again. So this is what you're faced with. You can lay the draw at 1.33. You can look at the half-time score. This will keep your liability low. You'll still have an opportunity to get a payout. That's what we're after here. Okay? So we're looking to get that profit in the bag there. So you go up to bets, Dutching back, if you've got the software, 0-1 and 0-2 would be the favoured scorelines there. 19.5, as you can see, very tasty indeed. So we can have a pop at that, keep your liability as low as possible, or still having a decent chance of a payout, having had a goal just disallowed Bologna. So that pressure is telling. 6.8 for the 0-1. And again, I've missed out. There we go. Looks like the goal has come in. You can see that 19.5 had I got on. I think the goal has been allowed. So we might have a bit of a VAR issue, perhaps. I'm not too sure.
Goal. Genoa Bologna is 0-1.
Yeah, it's showing, there we go, the red dot coming in. I hope you were quicker than me, okay? I hope you were quicker than me on there. The market reformed, trying to get on. Now you see why that 19.5 for 0-2 is so appealing. It's going to drop like a stone because it's the 38th minute. There's still 7 minutes plus extra time to go. And had you got on at the 0-2, waiting for this to reform, of course, this is a negative element of playing in this half-time score market. It's more of a value betting market rather than a trading market. So be prepared to scratch your liability off. What you can hear in the background should be odds-on favourites, scores coming in. I do have cookie issues with this website. There's so much going on at Soccer24. It's one of your key trading websites. So much going on in the background. As you can see, it can get a little bit sticky. I want mine up there. And then what I hope will happen, as you can see, we're heading to the 10-minute mark for two sides. Yes, they're in Europe, but renowned for goals before half-time. So start looking at the first half goals market. Do you see any value anywhere? Like a 0-1? No, well, I'd go neutral, wouldn't I? First half goals 2.5 for Leverkusen, possibly. If you wait for 15 minutes.
Südtirol Pisa is 1-1.
You could have a look at over 2.5 goals. Likely to still be a little skinny with these two as well. But do bear in mind, in the past, Leverkusen have scraped through the European club competition. And this is a new era for the manager as well. He's not. He's a little bit green in Europe, isn't he, still? So just be a little wary of that. And this does look a little sticky. So I might have too much going on in the background. So I better get rid of this. Just keeping an eye on Bitcoin. and everything else is required. So hello Colin and Bosun, nice to see you all. Hope everything's going okay, because this is a bit laboured at the moment. Probably too much going on in the background. So don't forget your first half goals, as you saw with Bologna. The opportunity there
is 1-1.
And I think that goal has stuck. So you look at that 0-2 down. Now, it was 19.5. It's because of the lateness of the match. It's not really moved. But that 0-1, you'll be seeing a profit on that. The way the stats are going, you're not expecting a Genoa goal. And there's that first goal for the Hoff. They never listen. I said 15 minutes. But it's up to you when you enter with the Hoff. If you go first half goals 2.5 with the Hoff, right at the start, you're going to get a really good run for your money. As Bosun can tell you, he's the Hoff's #1 fan. There's that first goal. So watch it for Bayer Leverkusen as well. Keep an eye on the stats. This is a unique period for Xabi Alonso. He hasn't had many matches where he's had to juggle returnees from international duty and then having to try to vie for the title, having had a poor start to the season where they got the first loss very early in the season, where they were unbeaten pretty much last season. And then he's got the upcoming European club competition to think about as well. That's why they look a little bit subdued. Frankfurt, similar story as well. They're involved in Europe as well. So they're no also-rans either. And you can see the goals are popping in the Bundesliga. That's why I've said to you, 67% over 2.5 goals. My entry point, I would go post 15 minutes. That's my personal choice. My ideal choice would be a 0-0 at half-time in the Bundesliga. That's my absolute ideal, because you can get yourself from the 46th to about the 75th minute, and all you need is one goal to be scored. If you can go get evens or higher over 1.5 goals, that's my favoured market. So hopefully we'll get an opportunity to have a look at that. But the goals are flying in so far in the Bundesliga, with Heidenheim scoring first against Mönchengladbach. That might offer us something. Heidenheim, well, stayed up last season, didn't they? Scored first, 1.9 the favourite Mönchengladbach, so we'll keep an eye on the stats there. And there's the mighty Hoff, of course, getting that goal before half-time, which you expect of them. Mainz and Leipzig, again, Leipzig can blow hot and cold pre- and post-Champions League. So it's difficult to read them as well. They're a bit like Man United. Just a tough side to get a handle on, Leipzig. You don't know whether they're going to be 0-0 merchants or 1-0 merchants. And you can see in front of your eyes, 60 attacking pressure index for Leverkusen. We're getting to that 15-minute mark. We're not going to get much value out of the overs market unless you venture into the half-time, as you saw with Bologna. So we're with the right team for goals, but it's this post-international pre-European club competition that is the sticking point with all of these normally reliable teams. If they put in an underperformance today, you'll know why. So no goals yet, and it's 2.12 for half-time. Half-time score, I wouldn't go for a half-time score, maybe any unquoted, but if you're going to do that, maybe first half goals might be the value play here at 7.2. That after 15 minutes. All we need is a sniff of a goal before the 25th minute mark, I would say, and we'll have a good start. That might offer you a decent play. Let's see that one get in, and then you can see if you can win back your £8 if you fancy it by laying overs 1.5 to cover any scoreline, 0-0, 1-0, 0-1. But you've got the no man's land between over 1.5 goals and over 2.5 goals that are going to kill you. That'll be the 1-1s, the 2-0s, and the 0-2s. But we'll just stick with that. It's a low liability. And there we go. Welcome to the world of Bayer Leverkusen. It's normally a world of goals. Hopefully this is a good sign. That's the way to create some value. The reason they're giving you value odds is because they've put a time limit on the market for you. But you know that this lot tend to score before half-time. We've got to suspend. I don't know what's going on. You can check it out at Soccer24. Oh, Boniface, you absolute tool. 9th minute. Surely that will give them, well, penalty on appeal. We'll take that for Frankfurt as well. If we can get a penalty for Frankfurt, that's going to wake these boys up. That's going to wake the first half goals market up.
Goal. Como Parma is 1-1.
So let's hope that it's a penalty for Eintracht Frankfurt. That would be fantastic. The newly promoted sides are all having a go at it. Como 1, Parma 1. It's a tough match to call, but I would lay the late draw, given the fact these are two sides who you'd expect would be targeting each other, a bit like Leicester and Sunderland. Look at that. Lovely news. Lovely news. Now, make sure Boniface doesn't take this penalty, please.
Goal.
General rule here
Como Parma is 1-1.
at footballtradingprofits.com is when you need a penalty to come in, of course. They hire Mickey Mouse to take it, or Mr. Magoo, Stevie Wonder. Here we go. Is that a goal? That's going to ignite the 2.5 goal market. Look how early it is in the match. Look how early it is in the match. 17th minute. Both of these sides are involved in Europe. And already this season, Leverkusen have shown they are vulnerable. They have already lost. But this, surely for us,
Goal.
is an angle.
Bayer Leverkusen Eintracht Frankfurt is 0-1.
So this is the advantage of you attending the live stream. You've got that first half goals, 2.5 goal at 7.4. I didn't pass it on to Telegrammers, did I? Should have done. There's no. If you're going to trade on a Saturday, why not come here? You know, we'll have this on in the background. Let's have a look. Europa League against Porto for the mighty Hoff. Oh, sorry, we're talking about Leverkusen, aren't we? And Frankfurt, sorry. Just want to show you, I think they're both involved in Europe, but still I think Leverkusen's reputation comes before them. Boniface is playing. He's the key striker for Bayer Leverkusen this season. The thing is, you've got to look at the team news in these post-international pre, because you can see Schicks on the bench. So that already, Florian Wirtz as well is on the bench. That's no coincidence. This is a new period for the manager. We're not getting the first 11 for Leverkusen out today. Now that immediately just takes the gloss off the whole trade, doesn't it? So there. If you wanted to play, I can take you through. We're already in a good position here. This would be the trade for me.
Medina Palermo is 0-2.
And you can actually green up already if you fancied that. That's not too shabby. I think I'll take a screenshot of that just to show you. That's a neutral play as well. We were looking at neutral markets, weren't we? We're going to try to sniff out a neutral play. I just want to save that screenshot because it comes in handy to show for a future, rewrite of the manual with a neutral element. This will be an excellent example. And the great thing is the underdog scores first, which ignites the market. We've got a really good chance
Medina
of a
Palermo is 0-2.
Leverkusen equaliser, or do we? I've just advertised the team change because of the international break and the European club competition. Something has to give for Xavi Alonso. You see it time and time again. It's just a problem. Some managers can solve it, some can't. Even the mighty special one, Chelsea, were vulnerable pre-European club competition. So we keep an eye on Leverkusen. It's been a very lacklustre start for them, hasn't it? They're normally out of the blocks. We're getting 5, 6, 7, 8 shots in total by now, or even more. But this is very subdued. 2 shots on, 2 shots off. We know the reason why. You could, if you wanted to, take the insurance out. It's going to be incredibly short, that's for sure. So you could lay over 1.5 goals, or you could get involved in the half-time market. As you know, look at this, it's going to cost you nothing to cover your stake. 1.04, got to take it out, even if the goal comes before you've made your mind up. Well, Mainz look to be in a goal-scoring mood today. They've got the first goal against, Leipzig got the first goal against Mainz. Hard to read, as I say, Leipzig. Your options with Leverkusen, if you fancied them, don't forget we're on that tightrope. It's not a gimme by any stretch, but I would do what I would do at Tottenham, and that would be the half-time play. Sorry, the match odds play. But the ideal would be that first half, 2.5 goals. That's your trade. That's your value trade. This one, there's a bit more liability. We've got the concern. Both sides are involved in Europe, but Leverkusen have taken off a couple of their key strikers. So they might not be the Leverkusen that we know and love. You can see that there. It's still no addition. Let's have a look through some of the stats and get rid of some stuff and look at stuff I haven't shortlisted yet. Bologna, I was only really interested in that goal, because that was really good. Got a possible play with Elfsborg at half-time, 0-1 down to Hacken in the Allsvenskan. They were pre-match favourites, but the Allsvenskan for me is a bit of a wobbly old league. We can see we've got 15 minutes to have a look, but you can look at the in-play stats for the Elf. And if you were trading on your own, this would be something for you to perhaps put in the plus box for having a go, because they've obviously kept Hacken quiet and have also, particularly their secondary stats, shots off target, corners, looking very solid indeed. But only the 2 shots on and quite a gap between the last shot and half time. So a little bit lackluster. If you're really interested, you can go to soccerstats.com, check out the Swedish Allsvenskan, really look properly into it. Why are Elfsborg favourite today? Let's have a look and see whether we can solve that problem. 1-1 Mönchengladbach and Heidenheim.
Borussia Mönchengladbach Heidenheim is 1-1.
So it looked like the market got that correct there. I didn't take a swing at that one. Elfsborg and Hacken, click on the stats. Hopefully they've given up with all of these pop-up boxes. Yeah, so far so good. Few stats and matches for both teams. And then we can look at Hacken. Look at Elfsborg's home form largely. Hacken's away form largely as well, because they are Jekyll and Hyde. You don't just look at the overall form. If this will load. So let's look at the recent form to start with. It takes a good side to beat Elfsborg. They've only had 2 defeats since the 6th of July. So that is quite compelling. I like what I'm seeing there. Hacken might be on a good run though. Might have momentum. 2 consecutive 2-0 wins is pretty solid stuff. But I don't know if they were favourite or not. But looking prior to that, 2 defeats to 0. So they might be vulnerable. The challenge table will reveal all. No defeat in 4 at home for the Elf as well. That's something for them to fight for second half. If we work our way down, we see 6th against 9th. It's a top 10 clash, but it's really solid home form throughout for Elfsborg this season. Last time these two met, it was 3-5 to Hacken. So that might offer us, or offer you, an over 2.5 goal play if you want the neutral play. But looking at Hacken against the top 8 away from home, how many times have they conceded 2 goals or more? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 occasions. They did score 3 goals on 2 occasions, 2 goals on 3 occasions. So they do have it in them to score 2 consecutive goals. That's what will bring down any potential play. But if you like what you see here, that's a suggestion that they're keeping Hacken quiet, and Elfsborg are slowly chipping away at that equaliser there. Como and Parma, as I say, I would lay the very late draw there. Malmo, no great interest. They've scored first. They are pre-European club competition. That might be something to look at. Moving on down, Serie B, just to look at the goals really here. Salernitana, newly relegated, might want to dig something out, but they've been keeping it quiet in the last 2 matches, as you can see in Serie B. Under 1.5 goals, so that doesn't inspire confidence. Might be a good late play. I saw them last week. They started coming, well, 2 weeks ago, started coming alive second half. Leverkusen, as you can see, starting to warm up nicely, but still a very, very subdued Leverkusen. You're likely to see 60-minute changes or half-time changes bring on the likes of Schick and the other key strikers who normally get a first-team appearance. But something has to give. Schick was probably playing for Poland, wasn't he? I would suspect. Tafs, well, we'll get rid of a few of these and then work our way through some of the secondary leagues. We've got a suspended market. Just waiting for a goal to come in. Let's see which one that focuses on. We've got 3 o'clock coming at 5 minutes' time. Ross County scored first against Celtic a couple of weeks ago. And there's the goal for Bayer Leverkusen. Right, bang on time. I was panicking a little looking at the substitutes bench, but look at that already. You've got a possible green out. What I like about this, and you saw it with Tottenham, it gives you the impetus to stay in. Say to yourself, I'm willing to take, well, this is not going to be a hit at all. It's going to be £1.60. I'm willing to take £12 loss
Goal. Bayer Leverkusen
for the hope of a £31 profit. Or I'm willing to take a £12 profit now, minus £1.60. Take the early gift of the goal before half-time, and those of you who backed 7.4 first half goals, 2.5, it's time for you to think about cashing out. You've got this is a bit of a dilemma now. You've got 25 minutes, 20 minutes to go for there to be a third goal scored. I think I'm going to cash out. I'm not too happy about the pre-European aspect, but we did get that goal before half-time. That's the key. And that's also the key for you if you want to cash out here. But that 12 is giving you the incentive to stay in, isn't it? If you're happy to take the hit, we're assuming, of course, that Leverkusen will start to dominate, as the match odds and the home form suggests, but it is pre-Europe. We're looking to get that 31. If you stayed in with Tottenham, you'd have got 35 or £39 out of the Tottenham match earlier on. We can have a look at that one. You'd have got 30 quid out of the Tottenham match earlier on. That £12 is exactly the same as you're seeing with Leverkusen. That's why I tell you to back the team you fancy half stake. Lay the team a goal up, half stake is liability. And as you can hear, the dogs are very pleased with this trading strategy as well. Apologies for them. So that gives you the incentive to stay in. Of course, you can get hit with the underdog scoring the next goal. But this looks a lot better for Leverkusen. 5 shots on, 3 off, and a corner. So we're up and running with them. Mönchengladbach look up and at them today, don't they? Odds on. And you'll notice they're shorter odds than they were pre-match. That could be a good sign as well. You can hear the dogs are delighted with that one. SPL, Ross County did score first against Celtic last week, or last time I was with you. There's Celtic there, likely to score before half-time, as per usual. We can't really play the League One or League Two, alas. It's just lacking liquidity on Betfair, which is a real pity. And the bloke from EasyJet apparently is opening up a betting exchange called EasyBet, run by Matchbook apparently. So look out for that in the future. But Matchbook, I'm afraid, is nowhere near the quality of the markets that Betfair has. That allows you to do this insurance and hedging. It's all very fiddly with markets like Matchbook. I've tried with Matchbook. It's I don't like it. Betfair is the go-to, isn't it? It's the real place to go. 1.22, 1.14. Have a look at these shorties. See if they translate into goals later on. It's the Portuguese Cup. Should have a big gap in form or quality between the teams. See if that translates into goals. Probably not going to be tradable today. Santa Clara might. They're from the Portuguese Primeira Liga. They get on the shortlist. Molde playing today. As you can see, the 3 o'clocks are starting to really get on. I just want to get rid of stuff I don't want just before the goals come. We're not missing any key goals. I haven't heard any dings yet. I just hope that Football 24 is behaving. Club Brugge today, yeah, it is behaving. Club Brugge are away. They're involved in Europe. Watch out for a potential banana skin with Club Brugge. We've got all of these European sides could struggle today. So we're just Baník Ostrava, Dukla Prague, newly promoted, could be a side to follow. Slavia Prague I missed out on, but they will be captured in my odds-on list here. As you can see, the goals are starting to flow for these short odds. This is the reason why a short list This is a good way for you to find over 1.5 goal, over 2.5 goal angles, and then just look for the angles that you like. If it's a goal after 15 minutes, it would have come in both of these, probably earlier than 15 minutes for Atletico Bilbao. Very efficient today. Old Vivian scoring first, Vivian from the young ones. So that's the reason I've got that. I'm trying to solve this 2.5 goal method by moving on down to 1.5 goals. That for me is a really good angle, I think. But Mönchengladbach, I think we're getting some problems now. Here, we've got the timings wrong. So I've got to back up, which will be, these are some issues we get with the In-Play Guru. Otherwise, it is excellent. You can see this is on the half-hour mark. And if I don't spot it, I can be rabbiting on. So I've got to back up soccerscanner.net. It's not as good functionality-wise as the In-Play Guru, but the In-Play Guru, it has a different data feed, which I hope will solve our problem now. So you're all okay. Hello, Zibby. Nice to see you. Bye, love you, Mr. Penn. Oh, dear. Yeah, 9th minute. But we did get those goals before half-time if you played those markets. Sorry, I have to talk a bit loud. The bloody dogs. And as soon as I start shouting, of course, they're listening to me and they shut up. So this is a backup. You can see, well, no, there is a problem. So we might have a data feed problem today. So we might have to go old school, I'm afraid. I wonder if it's just a timing issue. That could be something to think about as well. Rotherham against Exeter, against Wrexham, sorry. Let me just pick up some odds on favourites at Flash Score. So I've got my over 2.5 goal matches here. I'm going to pick up my odds on favourites, particularly in the lower leagues, because I don't really trade and know the lower leagues very well. So I have to go by the market. Flash Score is the place to do it. Click on odds, because you can't really have a couple of soccer 24s up, I don't think. So I'm going to collect odds on favourites. Anything below 1.9 on this occasion. This will be an opportunity for you to get some trading angles going in matches you probably wouldn't be thinking about, like Lens away at Saint-Etienne. PSG, we know. Mönchengladbach, odds on, odds on. So that would have given you some impetus as well to take on a Frankfurt lead if the market's getting it right. Post-international pre-Champions League. A lot of odds on there, as you see. Freiburg, you can look at that as well. That's 0-0 at half-time. You'll be alerted to that now. This is why I like collecting odds-ons. The market's done the work for you. Your job, if an underdog scores first, or if there's a red card, or if it's a 0-0 at half-time, it's just to investigate, why are they odds-on? In-play stats, do they deserve to be odds-on? That's what we're going to see with the likes of Twente later on. And PSV and AZ, another derby-style match of European club competition for all of the big guns as well. Freiburg opening goal, 34th minute. I was hoping they'd wait until half-time. But that's another odds-on at home delivering. Real Madrid odds-on, and we know, or we're highly likely to see Kylian Mbappe rested. He was rested in the last match and then brought on late on for a salvage job. So that's probably the pattern for Real Madrid later on today. They could be vulnerable away at Celta Vigo. Salzburg, I wouldn't be backing them today. Pre-Europe, I'll be looking at the in-play stats a little, but we have been alerted. They are odds-on favourite at home. The Sluts are out today, playing against Neman. I enjoyed the Sluts, particularly during COVID. Belarus was the only league. Club Brugge have scored first against Westerlo. Do keep an eye on the European club competition sites. Away from home, score first. They still might be vulnerable, so they're all going to get a star. They're all odds-on favourites. And I've got to do this as well for English League 1, League 2 and the Championship. That way I'll know which matches to alert to when the goals have been scored. As it happens, Colchester and Cheltenham, for example, I don't know if there's any odds-on favourite there. Cambridge have just scored against Wigan. So we'll get down to that. Dinamo Zagreb, we know, pre-Europe and away from home, could be vulnerable. Paulsen have scored first, and this is Sparta Prague in Europe. Paulsen, Dukla Prague, newly. But I'm not going to do Paulsen, 2.62 the favourite. So we've just got Sparta Prague at 6 o'clock. They're involved in Europe as well. Fulham have scored first against Aston Villa. Aston Villa, as you know, involved in the Champions League, no less. But they are brilliant away from home. But check the team news, please. Got to check that team news for the villains. Ollie Watkins involved in England, etc., etc. The team dynamic just might be knocked off kilter with Emery tinkering, as he might necessarily have to do with fatigue from the internationals and with one eye on building on that win against Bayern Munich. As you see, got the odds on here. So have a look at the team news for Aston Villa. Just make sure we've got some ammo up front. I'll have a look at the in-play stats. We're only 6 minutes in, so it does open the door to a half-time market play. But the villains have tended to come alive second half. That's probably because he brings on the cavalry post pre-Europe. Has the cavalry come on about the 50th, 60th minute, hopefully clinch an equaliser and then push on. French League 2, Lorient. So Aston Villa, that's certainly on the radar. Bundesliga 2, look for goals, goals, goals. Okay, so it's up there with the Bundesliga, 67% or thereabouts, for over 2.5 goals. Greek Super League, no odds on there today. That's a surprise. So the Fulham match, I might break off for the Fulham match, but we're very early on, so we're not going to get much out of the in-play stats. That's why I'm not pressing the panic button just yet. 2-0 to Freiburg already. Exactly what the odds suggested today. Liga Ha'al, that's been postponed. So there's no Maccabi Haifa. I think these two involved in Europe as well. Serie A B gets some attention with any odds on favourites today, but it looks a tough coupon. And we're working our way down. Southampton have scored first against Leicester. This is a must-win for both of these two sides who should be fancying it against each other. So in-play stats for that one. It's what I would term a derby-style match, Southampton and Leicester. Both really poor starts to the season. It's certainly one to lay those 0-0s all day long. We've already got that first goal. Both sides very, very vulnerable indeed. I haven't found England yet. Where are they? England Championship. SPL. So we've got Hearts odds on. Been a tough side to read, Hearts, this season. And of course, Celtic obligatory odds on. We might get a little bit of liquidity, but we don't have any odds on favourites. Tough coupon in Scotland today. So we've got goals coming in so far. Southampton and Leicester. Looks like Leipzig have turned up today. I didn't know which Leipzig would turn up. When you trust them, they get a 0-0. La Liga 2, Granada. I think they were newly relegated. Deportivo La Coruña taps week in, week out. They're well worth following. And I might have to add, well, the young boys, they're involved in Europe. Were red carded last time against Basel and paid the price. So I think that's it. We've got the Allsvenskan Turkish Super League, I think. Turkish odds on away have been drifting a bit. No, they haven't. I thought they were a bit shorter earlier on. And that's it. All of those will go into your favourites list. So you'll know now there's a goal coming in an odds on favourites match. What I'll do with this is go to all of the English leagues. I'll put my odds ons for the English leagues here. And then I'll be prepared for all of the 3 o'clocks when they come. If this website works, yeah, it's loading. Good. Okay. So let's get down to England. QPR against Pompey, newly promoted Pompey. Not a surprise. And we've got that Villa equaliser already. So I was not out of the blocks there at all. On their reputation for scoring away goals, it's one certainly you'd have a go at. But as you can see, my hesitancy around Champions League and any potential changes. If you played, well done. Aston Villa away. I showed you back end of last season. He started targeting 2 goals away from home. Old Emery started to pick up 2 goal a game away from home wins. You saw they went on that impressive run, didn't you? When they needed points, of course, when it all went, when they clinched their place, they started dropping points. As you can see, we're collecting the odds-on favourites now, so it's important for me to know that Bolton are odds-on, Huddersfield are odds-on, Birmingham are odds-on, particularly in these lower tiers, which I don't fancy that much, or I don't trade that much. Moving on down, Bradford odds-on, Carlisle, Colchester, and that's it. I won't go any lower than those leagues. So we've got all of the English leagues all in, put them in the My Games facility here, and then we can catch up with our matches now. I should be alerted with a sound every time a goal comes in there. So just checking on this, see whether it's come alive again. Well, this is correct, Elfsborg and Häcken. Are you taken with this one? I can show you through it if you want, with the second half beginning. ELFSBORG, Elfsborg and Häcken. I don't like the Allsvenskan. It's more of a, now we're into the neutral kind of thing. It's more of a neutral league, isn't it? More of a league for goals rather than to trust the team. But if you wanted to play for the potential for an Elfsborg equaliser, you lay over 1.5 goals for the stake you want to play with. That's called your insurance premium on the current scoreline for the underdog. Now, two options, Elfsborg +1. If it's reasonably above 1.19, I'll be quite happy stopping there. So I would say, I'll guess about 1.75 today. Well, over evens. So I'm happy putting my stake there. And now, you heard that sound in the background. That's an odds-on favourite goal coming in one of our lower tier matches. So we'll check that one out. So I would stop at +1 here for the Elf today, if you trusted it at all. Okay. You can hear the goals coming in. Bradford and Gillingham. Check the match out. Who's the odds-on favourite here? I think Bradford are odds-on. This gives us a potential angle in. I don't even know which league it is without looking. That's how little I know about these lower tier sides. This is the way to trade them for me. League 2. Head on over here. We need the in-play stats for Bradford now. Club Brugge, there you go. The banana skins are occurring. It's 1-1 Westerlo against Club Brugge. So if you fancy it, no, it's just been disallowed, but that could be a good warning sign for you today. Look out for a slip-up from these European sides, potentially, in this unique weekend. It's going to English League 2. I'm trying to find it somewhere. Just wait for League 2 to pop up. And this is the advantage this has over
Medina Palermo is 1-2.
Okay, Medina Palermo. So English League 2. Which match were we looking at? Bradford and Gillingham. That was the match. Oh, I'm losing my place. Bradford and Gillingham. So it's 0-1. Yeah, odds on favourite. Okay. So just check the in-play stats here. Well, this will be quicker, Soccer Scanner, won't it? So Bradford and Gillingham straight away. It's a little quiet, isn't it? 12 minutes in, so that opens the door up to a possible play if you fancied it. One shot on, one shot off, one corner. It's all about whether you trust the odds-on favourite. Or you can look at this, see it develop, and if you fancy the in-play stats, or if you fancy Bradford's chances, then give it a go. But as you can see, we're being alerted now. More odds-on favourite matches. And, well, first half goals. 2.5 for Leverkusen has come in, and Frankfurt have done the scoring. Wow. That is a great advertisement for you.
This market has been suspended.
For a neutral play. I really fancy Leverkusen here today, but I also fancy goals. So I'm going to go first half goals, 2.5. Guess who scores 2 of the 3 goals? Our old pals, Frankfurt. Looks as if the markets have gone already. As you can see, first half 2.5 already disappeared. So fantastic stuff. That would have been, what was that? So 65 quid if you stayed in. But that was a last gasp goal for Frankfurt. Possible play second half. No, it's been disallowed. So all of my fun and games has ended there. Disallowed for Frankfurt. But it's another sign these European sides potentially vulnerable today. So let's catch up with any eye-catching in-play stats. We'll start off with our watch list as well. Can we get rid of a few of these matches? I don't have a strong opinion here. Elfsborg, well, second half, I'm hoping it looks as if we've got the correct timings back. So I'm reliant again on In-Play Guru, which is my favoured site. Como and Parma would be one to lay the late draw in. A bit like Southampton and Leicester. It's newly promoted, potentially eyeing 3 points against a fellow struggler. Como coming off the back of 2 wins in 3 matches as well. So that is certainly one to eye the late draw. Could be in Como's favour, as you can see here. They've started promisingly second half. But do, as ever, check the in-play stats. Yeah, 1 shot on target, 2 shots off, and 2 corners. So enough pressure. 15 minutes into the second half. Trabzonspor as well. I suggest one of these two are involved in European club competition. 2.5 the favourite. Very off-putting. But I did see Istanbul Basaksehirspor actually score first earlier on, but that's obviously been scrubbed off. That was why I was interested in that. So I'll get rid of that.
Salernitana Spezia is 0-1.
And Salernitana Spezia, I did mention this could be a possible trading angle. If you fancy the newly promoted side, yes, it's 2.55 the favourite, but they have tended to dig things out, Salernitana. And if you wanted to, again, check, nice and quick, the challenge table will be the quickest route to giving you a flavour of how these two have got on. Don't forget Salernitana. I like to target newly promoted sides, but the market doesn't fancy them at all, really, today. But they have fought back in the past. So let's have a look. It's early on in the season. They've put together 3 shocking, must be said for a newly relegated side, defeats, but 2 of them have been real battlers, as you can see. And they're all 1 goal in it defeats as well. So do pay attention to that. 3 consecutive clean sheets for Salernitana. Does that suggest that they can cap Spezia, who have had an exceptionally good season, but they're drawing far too many away matches, every single one of them. And they've failed to score that second goal in the last 3 away. Might reveal all in the challenge table where these two are relative to each other. And you can see Salernitana's struggles early season have been against the very, very early season top 6. Spezia, indeed, themselves, you'd be expecting this lot to be a lot higher. Had these been just slightly different, does suggest they've got goals in them, but they tend to come against these strugglers here. And the wins for Spezia tend to come at home. The challenge table not fleshed out enough, is it? It's too early in the season. But do keep an eye on this. I've noticed Salernitana before. They have caught my eye because they're newly promoted, newly relegated. And they could offer us, or offer you, a little bit of value at 13s if you fancy a tickle. I wouldn't put you off. Indeed, I might have a look at that now. Do we got an equaliser for Elfsborg? Or was it folly to have played in the Allsvenskan?
Goal. Elfsborg BK Häcken is 0-2.
There we go.
Goal. St. Johnstone Ross County is 1-0.
St. Johnstone Ross County 1-0. So Salernitana and Spezia.
This market has been suspended.
It's a suspended market. So have a look at the Elfsborg match. I didn't pass it on to Telegrammers. But this, at 0-2, the better opportunity, of course, with still a bit of the match to go, or put the Allsvenskan, etc. on the back burner, use them as our summer leagues when football is barren. Because you get shots like this. So I'll talk about with Salernitana, if you just wanted to, again, dip your toe in and see whether this newly promoted side, newly relegated side, will deliver an equaliser, rightly timed, for you to get something out of it. And just a little tickle like that. And I'm not going to do the whole 40, of course. Keep your liability low. have a bit of fun and see if we can get that goal from Salernitana. It is a 2.55 the favourite match, which means the in-play stats will be more important today than the pre-match odds. 2.55 the market's telling you. We couldn't call this pre-match, sorry, 2.55 the favourite. We couldn't call it. So you have a look in play, and if they look like they're going to deliver, you might want to have a nice value back at 13s or 12s or whatever you can get. Enough time left in the match as well. Bear that in mind, half an hour. So could offer you something as well. And they're lighting up the attacking pressure index, which is promising. Certainly, they'll be motivated. They're at home. They are desperate to get back up into Serie A, of course, as well. Mainz and Leipzig. Well, if ever there's a time to take on Leipzig, it will be pre-Champions League. If you're feeling a little mischievous today, and don't forget what I'm saying about 67% over 2.5 goals. Do you have a better strategy than mine? Do you get involved at the off in the Bundesliga? Because if you do, you're going to be very satisfied with this return by half time. 67% overs. You can find that stat, or you can keep up with your 2.5 goal stats here. If you go to, I think it's stats or leagues. I think it's leagues. Go to leagues and sort this by 2.5. And then you can just keep an eye out on the major leagues. You'll notice that the ones I normally mention, Premier League 2, is up there, 74% over 2.5 goals. Professional Development League, 67%. And intriguingly, Germany, very well represented throughout, particularly the two big boys. The Bundesliga on 67% over 2.5 goals, and the Bundesliga 2 on 65% over. So something for you to bear in mind, and something for you to check up, or rather for me to check up for you each week. You might see some leagues going up the table, league going down the table as well. So it's an excellent table to have. Really good stuff. So Elfsberg and Hacken, if you want to get involved, as you can see, not really added to the first half stats. The absolute ideal is to wait, but this wasn't a strong play today. I just showed you it if you wanted to follow me. Odds on favourite at home with reasonable first half stats. I did say they needed to keep a tab, keep Hacken to 1 shot on 2 off, but it was not to be. We're looking to lay that late draw because it's a newly relegated teams. We know all about Salernitana, possibilities there. Südtirol and Pisa, don't have a strong opinion there. Mainz and Leipzig, possibility to take Leipzig on. Let's have a look at Leipzig's odds. This only would take them on at this unique stage, post-international, pre-European club competition. Mainz are no mugs either. They may be involved in Europe, but we're looking at very, very low odds play. Only unique to this weekend would I do this. It's well worth it. I showed you yesterday the catalogue of European teams who just struggled to get by sides they would normally pound into the ground. Leipzig expected to win against Mainz, but could slip up. A 1-2 will make this very interesting. This is the time to get these teams. Keep your liability as low as possible as well, and you just never know. It's not worry money at all, is it? £4.34. Possibility of a reasonable 15 on the draw, but you're looking to ignite that 94. I normally try to keep it above 100, make that money work for us. Got Deportivo La Coruña, odds on favourites earlier on, conceded the first goal. They've put in some good performances, as indeed has Salernitana. You might start getting very interested, and I might start backing or telling telegrammers about this, because it looks like they might be waking up, and there's enough time left for Salernitana to score an important goal. Live stream at the moment, one match which catches my eye, Salernitana, newly relegated to Serie B, are a goal down. Certainly not a match to target, 2.55 the favourite, but if you want some value, I wouldn't put you past backing Salernitana at 12s or higher in the match odds. It's plenty of time to go, 25 minutes, starting to light up the shots on and off target. Don't forget they're newly relegated. They could dominate in this league. Back them at 12s or higher. Hopefully we get a quick 1-1. You might also want to lay Spezia as well, so you've got a little bit on the draw. So that's the advantage of you coming to the stream. You already know about all of this earlier on. You can see it's looking good, isn't it, for Salernitana? This is a pure punt because the market's giving nothing away at all. Mainz and Leipzig, as I say, well worth laying such short odds. Leverkusen and Frankfurt, well, we're going to see more goals in this. Frankfurt have had that last second goal in the first half disallowed. I think we're having problems with... are we having problems with some of the Football 24's not doing its job? But hopefully I'll be alerted elsewhere. Hope you're all okay. Hello, Melissa. Nice to see you. You'll be pleased, Melissa. We've gone, after your years of telling us about neutrals, we're looking into that a lot more. Targeting 0-0s at half-time. So nothing much doing in the Bundesliga today, of course. But that's a league to target those 0-0s at half-time, isn't it? Definitely. St Johnstone and Ross County. Well, I think Ross might be competitive if they can get anything from scoring first against Celtic last time out. Dukla Prague, newly relegated. They're newly promoted, sorry, so could be potentially vulnerable. Pardubice promoted a few seasons back. Club Brugge did potentially score that second, but 24's gone down. Celtic, no goal yet after 24 minutes. Those of you who want to play the shorties like this for a potential over 2.5 goal play, we can have a look. And that's an odds-on favourite goal. So we'll look into that. Just hope those dogs will someone give them some pedigree chum or something. Here we go. Celtic, first half. I don't know if I trust Celtic too much post-international, pre. I don't know if they're involved in European club competition, but that might be academic. They might have that first goal. But post 20 minutes is certainly the starting point for a go at the markets. You can see already Celtic's odds down. Looks like I've got there just at the wrong time. Santa Clara, just keep an eye on that. This should translate into goals. They are from the Primera Liga. And looking on down to get rid of some of these peripherals and catch on with our odds-ons. We've had a couple of odds-ons come in.
It has been suspended.
We just need to check out. You can see they're coming up now. Middlesbrough against Bristol City. Celtic got that opening goal. So do check that 20 minutes for these shorties. If you wanted to play over 2.5 goals in the first half, 2-0 already for Celtic. Bang. That's what you expect of a 1.22 shot. Odds-on favourites, 1.6 pre-match, and they're already live odds of 1.73. So that should be a very strong indicator that Middlesbrough are fancy today. So the next step, head on off and look for Middlesbrough's in-place stats. Look after them. And we need Bradford as well, don't we, from earlier on. So let's just see. Bradford and Gillingham. Bradford underdog. Gillingham underdog scoring first. So we're interested in that one. We're now interested in Middlesbrough in the Championship against Bristol City. We want to just make sure, and it looks like they're good in play stats. And I don't know whether that goal has been allowed or not, because it's not popped up here. But it is on Soccer 24. So let's just check. Yeah, Mehmeti. It looks as if that's the goal. Market thoroughly unimpressed with that opening goal, probably because it's very early. And these are our shorties. Problem with Flash Score, they still don't give you the odds here, which is a problem. These are the matches with all odds on favourites. So as you can see, that Bristol City goal has come in. Soccer 24, as you can see, is far better than this. You've got the odds next to the match, like so. So you can already see, you've got to know who the pre-match favourite is when you're trading. Well, or at least I do. 2-0 already for Saints. That could be an angle in there. don't forget, two sides newly promoted will find each other or will be eyeing 3 points. They'll have that belief that they can get 3 points. So 2-0 certainly against the Leicester side, still with Jamie Vardy up front, could see us with a decent, well, again, have we got this wrong, 1-0 or 2-0? I'm not sure. I think we might get a green light for Middlesbrough. We keep an eye on their stats. Because I did like what I was seeing, 5 shots off. It is very early on. So there's something up, I think, with the Guru today. Let's just make sure this is okay. Middlesbrough, 5 shots off one corner. It's similar, yeah. It looks okay. Maybe I need to research this a little bit before I'm confident. Certainly the Championship is better than the Allsvenskan anyway, so I would be happier. Borough do have a reputation as well for defensive stoutness. We just need Bristol City not to score the next goal. That's where we make our dough. So thankfully, in the short term, they've got rid of all of these pop-ups. Makes life a lot easier. So it's a bit hit and miss for Borough this season, isn't it? But they are unbeaten at home, which is important. They haven't conceded. They have conceded that second goal. Did it against Pompey, and that was a very, very late penalty. So I think they still have that defensive stoutness. That was the only time they conceded. The second goal was via a penalty. If you can compare that to Bristol City's inability to score that second goal consistently enough, indeed, the last time they scored a second goal since the 24th of August was via a penalty. So we're building up, I think, a case for taking on Bristol City, or we've got a suspended market. Have I just out-talked myself from a play? Let's catch up, because Celtic are all over them today, Aberdeen. So let's have a look at Middlesbrough. I might have talked myself in here. We are, well, it's 0-2 to Spezia, but we did the right thing. With Salernitano, we backed them at 13s. Far better, isn't it, than getting involved doing insurance and all the rest of it. I think that was a good call, and you might still see some value at 0-2. I might even do a little bit of a top-up. So let me just get a look at Middlesbrough. We've got Ross County red card, but they've already conceded the first goal. So we're hoping that Bristol City will struggle to score that second goal. I think I've built up enough evidence to suggest that they'll need a bit of luck to score that second goal, as you saw with that penalty. And Middlesbrough conceding a second goal via a penalty as well, late on. The only time this season. So this is perfect for a +1 if the odds are short enough. If the odds are big enough, they're probably not. They're not even there. Well, 1.62. It's reasonable. You could stop off here, or you could look at the amount of time left in the match. 2/3 of the match to go. We've got an opening goal for Everton, which is no surprise. I did quite fancy them today, even though the market, I think, had Ipswich's favourite. Certainly, this is a relegation 6-pointer already this season. So you go either +1, or if you want to get better odds. But of course, you've got that loss on the draw. But you saw it work very well earlier on with Tottenham. Back Borough at 3.05. Now this, I'm only basing on Bristol City's struggles to score that second goal. Borough's strength in defence. We've laid Bristol City as well. By doing so, it gives you that temptation to stay in should you get a draw. For the sake of £7.50, staying in to look to win 52 quid, that is rather nice, isn't it? Brighton have scored first against the Geordies in another 2.5 goal match. Surely that would have been on your shortlist today. Everton as well, potentially. I'd be looking for this 0-0 at half-time thing. If I can show you one or two of those to show you my take on neutral. Hopefully we get the opportunity. Well, Elfsborg haven't turned up, have they? So we can say ta-ra to that. 15 minutes to go, Como and Parma, newly promoted sides. Again, we've got those similar matches. Leicester and Saints, 2-0 lead, could be gettable, Saints. Just because of the match type and the team they're playing against. They're not playing one of the big guns today. But it's also a Leicester, as you can see, we've got 2 wins in the last 3 matches. So Salernitana still, I think, remains 0-1, or is it 0-2? Because if it's 0-2, I might get involved. Huddersfield, Bristol Rovers. I think Huddersfield, are they the favourite here? We're just going to double check this one. So let's have a look here. Go down to the bottom. Pre-match odds, 1.53 favourite scored first. So we're not going to be following that up just yet. So where was I? We were going through the in-play stats. Ross County red, I think, against St Johnstone. So that's killed that one off as a competitive match. And again, we're having problems with the scores on the Diana Dawes at In-Play Guru. We do need to have accurate scores because this does give you a little bit of doubt because you've got no shots on target, but they're 2-0 up. It doesn't make any sense. And then, are they getting this wrong or not? That's the problem. We can check, but it looks as if it's throughout all of the others. So hopefully this will correct itself. Bradford and Gillingham, again, we need to know the Bradford stats. We want to see if they're, like Middlesbrough, threatening to come back into it. That's what we're into. See, this hasn't moved either. So I'm a little suspicious that the In-Play Guru is having an off day today. So I'll get the soccer scanner up again. We do need in-play stats to make an accurate reading of the match. So let's... I like this tool, I must say. It takes you straight to the match. Middlesbrough. And it looks as if this hasn't moved either. So either the match is... either that's accurate and the match is just quietened down a little bit. You can probably tell that with the momentum that's gone down there. So Dukla Prague and Pardubice only looking at this, the newly promoted, newly relegated angle. Hoffenheim have made it 2-0. You know it's a strange weekend when the Hoff are winning and winning comfortably. I think Saints might be gettable second half, particularly if it's 3-0 up. That would be very nice indeed. Just looking through some of our other matches. Spanish Youth League, get rid of a few of these. And there's a goal back for the Elf. I should have topped up really, but those of you who played, this is an out. So this would be a good opportunity for me to show you a possible out. Because we're not always going to be green, are we? There we go. Can't even spell them, and they still get there. So this is, it's going to look worse in the match odds. Oh, I went +1, didn't I? So that could be your hit just for that single goal. And bear in mind, it's a 78th minute. Okay? You're not guaranteed that they'll make it a 2-2. For this to work, this needs to be a draw. So that is about a third of liability. It's not quite. It's a little bit over. But just for that single goal, get out. You've made a loss on the insurance premium, but you've got nearly 2/3 of your liability back. That's a lot more comforting than taking a 40 quid hit at 0-2. But the absolute ideal there, really, if you were still stuck on Elf, would have been to top up. Top up again at 0-2, even in the +1 market, because you get the averaging down at 1-2, could still bring you a green screen. This is probably too illiquid, the graph, to show you the highest high. So that's just something to get out of jail when you're 0-2 up. You need that 1-2 to get out. Bradford have equalised, but as you can see, something is up with the stats today. We were looking at this. We had it targeted. That's the whole point of doing all of this palaver. But what we need is in-play stats that work. Carlisle Harrogate, for example, we need to check this one out. Any odds-on favourite? Or who is the odds-on favourite? We know one of them are. And it's Carlisle against Harrogate. So we'll be looking at that one. Carlisle against Harrogate is English League 2. Let's work our way down. Like the Bradford match, you want to look at the potential for an equaliser. Carlisle and Harrogate, and you can see that is screaming out, this is a mistake. Look at that. And as you can see, well, not as you can see, but if you did get out at 1-2, it's now 1-3 to Hacken. So I think this underlines for me and you that the Allsvenskan might be better approached as a neutral. And Melissa will love it. Neutral territory, goals only rather than teams. Look at that, 4 goals in it, and it's the underdog scored 3 of them. Carlisle and Harrogate, you can see that. Let's just confirm that goal. It hasn't come up here. So we're dealing with very bitty stats, but we're hoping that this is an accurate reflection. You can double check, I suppose, by going back here and looking at the actual stats, if they have statistics for these lower tier leagues. This could be a play, Carlisle and Harrogate. I might have to do my research as well. Hopefully it'll be 0-1 at half time. Looks as if the stats are accurate, doesn't it? You can tell by the colour coding here. It's all red on the left-hand side, which is a positive for the pre-match. 1.91 favourite. Performing far better, it must be said, than at 1.95 favourites. Standings, we have a quick look at. I don't know how these two have performed recently. This is a quick way of looking at it. So where are they? Well, Carlisle are at the bottom, yet they're performing very well today. So that's immediately drained the life out of me. How many points all season? 2 matches won, but they're performing very well today, it must be said. So this has already put a dampener on trusting Carlisle. But I suppose with a glass half full, you'll get some value. But this is appalling stuff. Failed to score in the last 2. That was a trophy, though. Probably put out a weakened side. Focus on the league. But they're playing a Harrogate side who are not much cop themselves away from home. They failed to score in the last 4. So this might be an opportunity for Carlisle. We call it a redemption match. If you're an odds-on favourite and you're bottom of the league, we saw it with Union Berlin last year when they couldn't win in the first half of the season and suddenly inserted as odds-on favourites, suddenly go on and win or draw whenever they're odds-on. That could be the signal today for Carlisle. Would you agree? I think I've read that one okay. Bottom of the league, putting your shekels on them. I must be howling mad Murdoch. Let's get Carlisle up. Take your insurance out. Might want to do with both teams to score. Well, it's too illiquid. So we're dealing at these lower tiers. This is where I lose money, though, the lower league. So you have been warned. Okay. This is where the shock result. And watch out to Carlisle equaliser before half-time. Knowing my luck. Don't get me to buy lottery tickets. Is there an equaliser for Carlisle? Or have we over-trusted? Look at this, Bologna. Did I take on a Bologna lead at 0-2? Because it is pre-Europe, isn't it? And it's 2-2 to Genoa. So if ever there's a time to take on these sides, it is, particularly when they're leading, when you get short odds. I don't think we took them on, did we? No. But it's gone from 0-2 Bologna to 2-2. And they'll be sniffing blood. So Carlisle, I don't know what's going on there just yet. We haven't had any. Ah, there's the equaliser. There we go. So I hope you got on before I did. I thought it was a very well-read match, that one. It's difficult to trust bottom of the league, but these are what I call redemption matches, and they are normally very reliable. We had West Ham against Ipswich last time Premier League was on. Redemption match, Ipswich, awful start to the season. Odds on at home against newly promoted strugglers. And boy, did they make that count. So I sincerely hope you got on there. It took me a while to investigate because, as you know, I don't know these leagues very well. But really, if you're marrying that with that, you're accurately there. And we've got a bit of a gap, haven't we, with the stats today, which is just throwing me off a little bit. But I hope you got there. Hope you were taken by the argument. Carlisle, opportunity to put 3 points on the table. 86 minutes, Perry Como and Palmer, two newly promoted sides. I can't tell if they've done anything or not recently, or if these stats are accurate. So it's a little bit of a pity, this. But bring it up. Could be one for a late later draw. Similar to the Bologna match. This is huge, just a distraction. I would suggest that the managers probably thought this is in the bag. Got to take off my stars because we're in the Champions League next week. 2-2. And it's all gone. So let's have a look at Como and Bologna. So look out for Paris Saint-Germain later on. Just lay. If you get very, very short odds, one or two of these sides will slip up. You saw it Friday. Nearly, well, Anderlecht cocking it up. Sporting Lisbon needing a very, very late winner. Dortmund cocking it up from 1-0 to 1-1 late on. Como and Palmer would be a late later draw here, just based on who they are. And it's a nice start, 1.25. Drip lane, I'll up this to a tenner, so you can see a greater return early on, but an increased risk. So if you're willing to take it. So the first thing to do,
Westerlo Club Brugge is 0-2.
it's your backer stake.
It has been suspended.
You're looking to win a tenner, 1.25 to start with. This is my version of drip lane. 1.19 to win a tenner. 1.14 to win a tenner. And 1.09 is where we make our big money. And this will be a maximum liability of £2. So that way you can win a lot more. There we go, something like that, £2. And then this, if you can get to 1.06, this is where you will absolutely clean up. And this has happened many times, particularly in end of the season matches where goals are required. And we got a goal from Bristol City, which is disappointing, but it is a positive. I don't think they'll get a third. So like we just saw with that 0-2 to 1-2 for Elfsborg, this could be another one of those. You'll be looking for a Middlesbrough goal. And this is where you'll be ruining, not going both teams to score. No. So we'll look at that one second half. I'm not going to panic too much given the market didn't really fancy Bristol City at all. We've not got matched yet on the draw. Oh no, because we're drip lane, aren't we? So start getting matched as we go down. And the great thing about this, you can leave this alone now. Your maximum liability, if you're looking to win more, in this case, it's going to be about £10. But your potential profit would increase markedly to about £90 if you get in at 1.06 and a goal is scored. So watch out for that. Southampton Leicester is 2-0 at half time. We'll just show you the Middlesbrough match. This could be another opportunity to top up. And Bradford 2-1. Bit disappointed that In Play Guru is playing up today, or is it the data feed? Because it's on both.
Suspended.
Bradford 2-1. Targeted the match as well, based on the odds-on status. I still think we might have legs with Middlesbrough. Just check that Bristol City goal as well, the second goal. Was it a surprise goal? Because this is certainly a surprise for what is only the second time all season that Middlesbrough have conceded that second goal. That's what I was relying on getting involved here. Hirakawa has made it. So there's still, well, I think that's wrong. 1.83, that's totally wrong. We can have a look now in the match odds. Or the +1. So this is what I was telling you about the Elfsborg opportunity to show you this. What it does, though, it will increase your risk if it doesn't go your way. But if you get that 1-2, it'll save your bacon. So this is the match odds version. This is the +1 version. This is where the 1-2 will get you out of jail. Okay, this is where +1 is far better. You saw that 1-2 come. How late was it in the last match? 75th minute or something. So you've got a lot of leeway with the +1 market to get at least a third of liability back with a 1-2 around 75 minutes or earlier. But match odds, you can top up again. The reason for this is if you're looking for that 1-2 for Middlesbrough and you get that 1-2, you've got the possibility of getting a green screen at the 1-2. But topping up, just give yourself a predetermined loss amount. So backing at 9.4, 0-2 up at home. For a team who rarely concede 2 goals. Yes, they've done it today. Bristol City, as you can see, were on a winning run, weren't they, coming into this? Maybe I've underestimated the effect that might have. So that would be what I'd be looking at. The 1-2, how can we insure against it where you can lay over 3.5 goals? Or 2.5 goals? That would cover the current 0-2, but then you'd have to cover the 1-2 as well. We can investigate that.
This
So
market has been suspended.
Got a liability of about 58 there. So that would cost you 11 quid to cover the 0-2. You'd have to cover the 1-2 as well. This is where both teams to score no would be far better, but it's going to be far too. It could be far too short now. Yeah. So don't follow me on all of these. I'm just showing you your options, or looking at options in a live environment. We'd be looking to win. This covers the 0-2 as well, covers the 0-3. I've got the 0-2 covered already. And I want to cover the 1-2. And then we'll get to the Man United Brentford match. But as we know, Man United, very tough team to read. In-play stats for that one, I think. And even then, trouble trusting. So 1-2 I would cover. That would cost about 11 quid as well. Oops, sorry, to win. And then I can just show you through my thoughts there. So I've topped up. I've got a 51 liability. I thought it was 58. Sorry, 51 liability there. If we can get that 1-2, that will be up and running. Insurance. You've got the 1-2 covered. I think the liability is too high, isn't it, to cover the 1-2 and the 0-2. That would be £24 liability in total. So we'll see how that comes out. But all I would do there for you, I would top up again and hope for that 1-2. We were hoping that the Middlesbrough defence would be on top there. But again, I don't know with these stats, that's the problem. So we have to go elsewhere and hopefully get a different reflection or a different stats feed. So 11 goal attempts, 1 shot on, 6 off. So that's about the same as what we've seen. We've seen, I think, 1 and 5 off, 3 corners as well here. So it's just 2 shots on, 2 goals for Bristol City. I don't think the market fancies them still. We have a whole half to go for Borough. Hopefully they will perform as 1.6. That's normally accurate odds at home. We normally tend to see a good strike rate of at least not losing for these 1.6 shots. And this arguably as well is an underdog leading 0-2 on or around half-time, where you would, if this was your first entry point, you'd be laying Bristol City backing Borough in the match odds, because home advantage, home support, 1.6. Get that 1-2, that will start bringing it all alive. Como and Palmer, well, we've got, again, this is all wrong. It's not 1.4. So I'm sorry about this. We do need an accurate in-play stats feed. You can see the importance of it, and we're having problems with the backup as well. It's the third-party data feed. It's as simple as that. You see the importance of having in-play stats. We missed the Bradford one. We could have seen Bradford come alive, perhaps, and then got on that one. We're knowing their odds on at home. Ipswich and Everton, can we trust these stats? Well, 37 minutes. Again, that's inaccurate as well, unless there's been a delay. There, I don't think there has been.
Market has been suspended.
Yes, there has been. Okay, fair enough. I wouldn't take on Ipswich necessarily. take on Everton necessarily here because they have had that habit of scoring 2 consecutive goals, even though they let the leads slip. But they are playing a lot weaker opponent on paper, so to speak. We can have a look at the Premier League stats, seeing as it's half time, and indeed, a number of stats throughout England. See if they're accurate, of course. That's the major concern. We don't have that red card for Ross County, do we? So we've got real gaps here, which is a real pity. So I might have to tread warily today or go old school, just to be looking at the in-play stats. The ideal, of course, would be looking at the teams playing. You get a good eye on that because the in-play stats are missing or they're not reliable. Genoa and Bologna, as you can see, that should be 2-2. So again, that's totally unreliable as well. So I might have to look individually here, which is the whole point of paying for a stats feed is you've got all of the matches on one page, which is perfect. Here, you're going to have to look individually. The only other website I would recommend would be William Hill for very solid stats, williamhill.com's stats. Missed penalty for Fulham as well. Living well at the moment, Villa. Do they have that second goal? We have a look at the stats as well. The lineup. Any of the big boys on the bench? McGinn, normally a regular starter. We've got a second goal in the Premier League as well for somebody. But this is what the problem is when the stats don't perform. I'm going to have to go through this. You can see this is looking like a 50-50 match, isn't it? There's no red on one side. Looks like a very tight affair. 7 corners for Villa. I would be looking at potential that draw ending at some point with Villa's 2-goal habit if they're not going to be concerned. And there's that 2 goals I was telling you about for Everton. Very, very good odds for Everton today. I really should have backed them pre-match. Wow, 2.9. Playing a newly promoted side. Where on earth did the market get 2.38 favourite for Ipswich from? That's mysterious. Man United and Brentford, I'm probably not going to be trusting a 1.62 favourite. Brentford's record at Old Trafford is appalling, isn't it, over time? I think that's what the research was getting at today. Ten Hag's been yellow carded for being a very bad manager. About time too. Have a look at the stats and we can see whether they're accurate. 10 goal attempts, 3 shots on, 3 shots off and 6 corners. So let's have a look. Is this accurate? 3 shots on, 7 shots off and 2 corners. So you're going to have to, I think,
This market has been suspended.
look here. We've got all these sounds coming. Thank you. Just getting a little excited. These are our odds-ons, by the way. And if you needed an advert for over 2.5 goals, then I might be onto something. You can see. This now 0-0 at half-time. I might look at backing over 1.5 goals. This could be a good one to show you. Bolton Millwall. I would normally do that, though, the likes of obvious ones like Man City 0-0 at half-time or Leverkusen 0-0 at half-time. But let's have a look. This is my idea. Millwall and Derby. Any match where you're hoping for goals and it's 0-0 at half-time. Any match where you would have wanted to back over 2.5 goals and it's 0-0 at half-time. Have a look at the over 1.5 goal market. If it's over evens, stick your stake on. Now, all you need is 1 goal to be scored at the correct time, anywhere between 46 and I think 75 minutes, or 70th minute to get some sort of a return. Of course, the earlier it's scored, the better the return. So I'll look on this with interest. This is just based on the odds. I haven't done any research, okay? This is based on the pre-match odds. So maybe you want to just make sure you're choosing the right matches if these sides have a strong record of overs. Why I didn't play Preston earlier on? Because they've had 2 0-0s in the last 4 matches. This one I haven't checked, but 1.61 still. That's what I'm talking about, pre-match odds. Having delayed, you're getting really solid odds. Well, you're not, because the market's expecting goals here. But relative to pre-match, let's have a look at the odds. 1.2 to 1.67. So you're getting
Celtic
3
Aberdeen is
and a half.
1-0.
So if you want to go over 1.5 goals, or you might have a rule, if it's still odds on for over 1.5 goals, it might hint at over 2.5 goals. This is a potential. Don't forget, I'm just thinking aloud here. This is something I've thought about. Backing over 2.5 goals in these kind of matches. 0-0 at half time. Very strong odds on favourite at home. And laying over 1.5 goals. That would cover 0-0, 1-0, 1-0, 0-1. As I say, your troubling scorelines are between over 1.5 and over 2.5. If you leave this to go, that return is very nice. Net profit, though, you have to take 28 away. So we'll see how that formulates. It means you're not panicking at 0-0, but you could do with a goal coming in early enough to get this ignited. So experimental mode. Okay, I'm trying to hedge as many scorelines as possible and give us an unfortunate scenario, perhaps, of ending with a 1-1 or a 2-0, 0-2. Those would be our killer scorelines. 1-0, 0-1 as well would be a killer scoreline, because that's not towards, if that's 1-0 late on, you'll be losing in both of these. So we'll see how that eventuates. Again, as I say, it's based purely on the pre-match odds. 0-0s at half-time. You can see how many of these.
Middlesbrough Bristol City is 0-1.
Oh, 0-1, is it? Has it gone back to 0-1? And Leverkusen score. So let's go back to Middlesbrough. No, 0-2. So I don't think we can rely on that in-play guru today. What a pity. I wonder if I can refresh. Last time I tried it on Edge, and it tended to deliver, where Google didn't. So let's just try that one. You never know, it might just be something, an extension of something that's not quite working in Google Chrome. Right, Zambia and the Welsh Cup. We just need to see and we get correct timings. Go back to England. So I'm sorry about this. You know how much or how important stats are, and how they can really change our fortunes, offer us confirmation tools, etc. But you can tell that's 0-2. So I think we're flogging a dead horse here. Celtic are in Europe. Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Bosun. They are in Europe. So any other 0-2s in our odds-ons? Let's try to keep this experiment going. As you can see, the goals are coming. The goals are coming. Millwall we've done. Bolton we've done. The only two culprits at half-time at 0-0. So we'll be looking at those with interest, but I wouldn't be touching this lot. We had a 0-0 earlier on for a 1.29 favourite. Once this is split, it's one of those you'll be laying odds-on favourites in. So you can see plenty of odds-ons later on. Bournemouth and Arsenal, Bayern Munich, both involved in the Champions League. Tough match for Arsenal today. Probably be aiming for a 0-1 or a 0-2 and make some team changes later on with the Champions League in mind. Well, the usual crew, so let's catch up. Well, we can't catch up, so let's catch up with scorelines. So we have to go old school now, all the way with all the live matches. Have to check out match by match. Not much giving away, was it, Man United and Brentford? No redeeming features here apart from 6 corners for Man U. But do you trust them? Do you trust Man United today? That's the problem. It's a play if you fancied it. 1.62 favourite at home. As I say, tend to deliver well. Newcastle and Brighton, you need to check the stats out there. I'll just get rid of that. It's going to really annoy. Newcastle and Brighton. Danny Welbeck having a good season, but we need to check the Newcastle stats again. Well, There we go. Leaning towards the Geordies, I think you'd agree. 4 corners, 8 goal attempts, 2 shots on, 2 shots off, and 4 corners. But most importantly, they've kept Brighton to 1 shot on, 1 shot off, and 1 corner. Do you trust the Geordies today? This is one of those you'd expect both teams to score. That's for sure. Live odds, totally inaccurate as well. So there is a data issue somewhere in this footballing data world. Although this looks accurate, or it doesn't, it's a way off. It's 4 minutes off, but we're into the second half. So do you fancy Newcastle to score? Very lackluster, really. Just 2 shots on, 2 shots off. And we know the devastation that Brighton can cause goals-wise. Is it better for a neutral play? Can we get a neutral play in? Experimenting today. Seeing as Melissa's turned up, we better do neutrals. Have a go at this. This covers the next goal scored. Over 2.5 goals, 1.85. Again, don't forget with your trading head on. So maybe you want to have a predetermined loss amount, or you want to go again. Backing over 2.5 goals. Laying over 1.5 goals. Again, just experimental. That will cover the 0-1. 1-0. And then hopefully we get to 1-1 quickly. That will kill this off. And that will ignite this. So if you make a net profit above that £7.60 loss, you're going. So that is a good idea. If you were favouring the Geordies, and they are solid at home, but then this Brighton side have thoroughly impressed this season. A very hard side to take on. But you would lay over 1.5 goals, so pretend that was part of the bet. Look at Newcastle +1. I would say about 1.7, given that they're at home. 1.8. That for me would be my stop. I would stop at 1.8, looking for a possible equaliser. I'm just going to pass on that the in-play stats are inaccurate today. I'm going to have trouble reading some matches. If you're at the live stream, you'll know the in-play stats feeds, both in-play guru and my backup, are not performing today, making it very tough to provide the confirmation I need to provide you with trades. So please do bear with me. It's a bit of a slog having to go individually by match, check the stats out, and then look for a trade. Normally, all my stats are on one page. So apologies for that. It's a third-party data error today. It just reminds you the importance of these stats, doesn't it? Vitally important. And vitally important to have them on one page. Total corner, do it. But again, you're missing the shots on target, shots off target. You have to go to a separate page to investigate them, which negates the whole point of looking at it. This is what you want. You want all matches on one page. But you also want the shots on target, shots off target on the same page. You don't want to go into a separate page. So it negates the whole point of us using this. You can see this is not offering me any shots on or off target, which are our key determining stats. So we have to go through match by match now. Possibility of Newcastle getting an equaliser, they can keep Brighton quiet. I've showed you the neutral route, which is over 2.5 goals, which is probably a good route because we've got some real attacking pressure from Brighton if they can do it. Southampton and Leicester. Look at the Leicester stats. So they provide us with an opportunity to take on a Southampton lead. There'd be a lack of confidence from Southampton this season as well. Leicester will be eyeing the potential to get back into this. 4 shots on target, 3 shots off, 4 corners for the Saints. No shots on target yet for Leicester. 5 shots off target, 3 corners. So we'll have to see, or rather just focus on the second half stats, which is probably one of the good tools here, is a singular focus on second half. Because in the past, you saw with Elfsborg, we get waylaid by the first half stats and tempted in, and then the second half performance is nowhere near the first half. So you can see Southampton starting a little brighter. Let's not get too carried away, just a 1 shot on target. But 3 corners to 0. We need to see a bit of red on Leicester's side, so I'll keep that up. So we're going old school here. I might have to get out my new romantic gear I used to wear, and goth gear as well, I used to wear back in the day, seeing as we're going old school, brothers and sisters. Preston Wren, European club competition, I think, for one or two of these. Again, just check the... And there's a Man United equaliser. There if you wanted it. 1.62 at home. And I told you these 1.5 to 1.7 at home. 1.44, 1.5 to 1.7 do tend to deliver. And bang. That automatically has my attention there as well. So Sparta Rotterdam. Just check the stats for Sparta. This is another underdog leading 0-2 on or around half-time. These are the key stats. 3 shots on, 2 shots off, 2 corners. For Almere City, 1 shot on target, 3 shots off and a corner, suggesting we might have seen a penalty or an own goal. Own goal, there we go. So I'm feeling a little confident here, I think. We've got a 0-2. But this is going old school, isn't it? It really is. This is what I used to do back in the day, before somebody had the cleverness to put all of the stats that you need on the one page. When they're working, of course, they are brilliant. So I think Sparta Rotterdam, we might have a play here. I think with that own goal tempting me in. It's a lucky 2-0 lead. Now, both teams to score no is going to be too low. That covers the 0-2. But the fact that they got that second goal as an own goal, it's still pretty decent. This covers 0-2, but then you'll have to cover the 1-2, which is at 6.2. That's doable, but let's go the traditional route. Now, you have to go match odds, because you can't take insurance out on a 0-2, because you've got the 1-2 as well, which is still a losing position. So we go straight here. We don't have to do insurance because we're getting decent odds already. 8.8 early on in the match. Half to go. Second goal was an own goal. So I think there's possibilities here. So something like that. See if you can get Sparta Rotterdam's profit to be 100 or more. Give you something to work. You see a touch of lack of liquidity there. A bit of a gap as well. We're getting to half-time. You might want to take the risk of getting involved at half-time. They've got the delay doesn't matter then, does it? If you get involved. So let's just there we go. That's all matched. Good. 10-second delay. 2-1 Celtic against Aberdeen. Man U equaliser if you played that one. You could take on an Everton lead if you want, but I think they're playing a weaker team today. So I was expecting the 2 goals from Everton. I would have loved an Ipswich lead today. I think that would have been the banker bet of the day, really, from a trading perspective. Trusting Everton to get that 2-goal habit back. So this has possibilities. So let me just pass that one on to Telegram. So you're seeing a different approach today, a necessary approach because the stats feeds are not working, but looks as if Soccer24 is still reliable. So laying Almere, backing Sparta Rotterdam. Second Almere goal was an own goal, and it did look like a surprise scoreline. Okay, so we're going to go old school again with all the rest of them, all the way down. See, I don't know if this is working. 55, so we're about 10 minutes in. That's about 15 minutes in. I just don't know. So, match by match, Bundesliga ending. I wouldn't be taking any of these, but I told you over 2.5 goals, 67%, really well worth your attention. Real Betis and Osasuna got 2.3. See, I'd prefer just a glance and then move on. But now we've got to look into this. 9 goal attempts, 3 on, 2 off, 7 corners. Nothing grabbing my eye there. You see the importance of these in-play stats feeds, don't you? I'm expected to do this throughout the Championship now and into League 1, League 2. Or can I trust 3 shots on, 7 off, 5 for Millwall? Maybe double check the stats. That could be the way to go. 1.95 Millwall could be one to lay the draw. 11 goal attempts, 4 shots on, 4 shots off, 8 corners. So if we compare that here, 3 shots on, 7 off, 5 corners. So still a little awry. I don't know who's. I think Soccer 24, I would say, would be the more accurate, wouldn't they? But this Millwall derby could be one to shortlist. So we'll get that one up. So this is such a slog, isn't it? We'd be glancing through multiple matches ordinarily and shortlisting them, picking them out, putting them at the top, looking at our entry and exit point. But now we have to faff about looking at shots on, shots off and corners and then deciding whether to play or not. And Millwall and Derby I'll have to research as well, so that's another burden. But we're not getting any real flurry of goals coming in. We're not missing any opportunities. But this is the old school method. Going back to have a look at Millwall and Derby. Just want to see the incidences of second half goals here, because I would have thought the Lions at home would be highly motivated by their generous and loving home support. Highly encouraged to score, but they failed to score in the last 3. They failed to score in 3 of the last 5. And in 4 of the last 6. 4 of the last 7. Sorry, they failed to score in. Problems up front, but they scored 3-0, 3 at home. Stark contrast. No draw for Derby this season, suggesting we could see an end to the draw. Looking at the challenge table where these two are relative to each other, Millwall struggling at the base there. But we don't see a draw at home, do we? We don't see any draw at all for Derby, but do note all of their defeats have come against early season top 8. Might find this lot to their liking. Not conceded, albeit at home. So it's a messy one. It's not for me. But the market fancies Millwall here. If you wanted to just lay the draw based on the fact that Derby have not had a draw this season, you could give that a go. I would use the £40 and look to potentially cash out. Or why don't we investigate the neutral angle, which we've already done, of course. So we're getting £14 loss after, how long are we into the match? 15 minutes into the second half. So that gives you an indicator. We could do with a goal. I want to see what it looks like at about the 70th minute mark and maybe consider getting out. Because 1 goal post 70th minute is not going to make much of a difference. So this will be interesting. Millwall and Derby. This is hard work, isn't it? So let's just go through, do something like this. Again, it's not adding up. This suggests Sparta are going for it, but this isn't moving. So we are in a spot of bother. And if you're having trouble with your feeds, do let me know. But let's carry on looking at matches. Take our cues from the pre-match odds. We've already got an eye on that. Have Middlesbrough improved? Let's have a look. This is the problem, just a single shot on target. 6 shots off target, 2 corners. They've been hemmed in, it seems. But second half stats not got going just yet. Middlesbrough. 1.6 pre-match home favs. Should really be seeing something from them. Millwall, as we know, struggling this season. Odds on at home. And we did Bolton as well. So let's have a look at the Bolton match. I should have got in as soon as the Bolton goal came. Backing over 1.5 goals. I think it's 1.86 here. And we did over 2.5 goals. So I should have been straight on the case as a trader rather than just noticing it now. Because you can see the relationship now between £10 loss here and a fiver here. So if that goal comes in and you're not happy with the timing of it, you can take a £5 hit. We've got the opportunity if we can get that second goal. This will be negated. Hopefully the second goal will come early enough and then this will start moving. Aston Villa have got that second goal, but I'm afraid I can't preempt it because I have to go back here and then check up on them to see if they've improved their shots on and off target. So this live stream for you is a great advertisement for in-play stats. It really is when they're working. You can see here, 9 shots on, 5 off, 9 corners. But we need all of these stats on the one page so we can scroll up and down on the one page
Has been suspended.
rather than picking out individual matches. Which match do I pick out to preempt a goal? You see the problem I have. That would have been a good play. We know they scored 2 goals, but I didn't have a gauge in front of me. So very disappointing from the guru today and the scanner. It costs you money. This is well worth its investment, as you see week in, week out, when it works. But, yeah, it's all over the place. Struggling. Celtic 2, Aberdeen 2 now as well. And ordinarily, you'd be keeping an eye on these sides and you'd be looking to see whether Celtic are vulnerable. As Bosun corrected me, they are involved in Europe. We've got a goal back from Leicester City. Let's have a look at that one. Good stuff. I would caution you to get involved in these matches. Newly promoted sides playing each other because they will fancy it. And a 2-0 lead is not a comfortable 2-0 lead. I'm sure I got involved, didn't I? I did give you a mention at 2-0. I must have got involved. Well, I hope you did. It's these stats, you see. The lack of stats is knocked me for 6 here. So let's have a look at this list, perhaps. Can we get anything out of this? Any odds-ons? Lincoln and Birmingham. Huddersfield, we know odds on. Bolton, second goal. Let's go back to that. Perfect. Now we've got rid of that £28 loss. That liability on the 1.5 goals. So let's have a look at how this is evolving. That's gone now. Now, is this higher than 28? That's what we need to know. I'll take a 3-0 Bolton any day of the week. But this is a good sign, isn't it? If it's odds on in the over 1.5 goal market at half time, it might be a good match to do over 1.5 goals. Over 2.5 goals, as you can see. Okay? Learning all the time. So if you can get a good look at the 1.5 goal market, 2-1, we're in. Bang. 2-1 Bolton. £84 on the overs, minus £28 on that. The killer scoreline, of course, as I've already alluded to, 1-0, 0-1, 1-1, 2-0, 0-2. Killer scorelines. They're in between over 1.5 and over 2.5 goals. Brilliant. That worked out beautifully. And that's the 67th minute. Wow. What I would have been intrigued to see, though, would have been at 2-0. Got a £28 loss here. What would this have looked like? How much of that 84 would you have seen? Would it have been above £28? Or would you have had to cash out? It's all about timings, isn't it, with that particular idea? But look at that. Lovely. Millwall not quite performing on this flash score 2.5 goal list. Best way to approach, of course, the 1.5 goal, but you need an exit. So 70th minute coming up now. We need a goal scored to get us an exit opportunity there. No, we're not going Middlesbrough, are we? Millwall. So you've got to keep an eye on what we're looking at. There we go, £84.24, 28, minus £28. So match odds. Any other options to cover the present predicament? Well, we could have gone down to the 1.5 goals at an earlier stage.
This market has been suspended.
What do we do now? You see, this is... I haven't got an exit for this.
Goal. Southampton Leicester is 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1. So we're catching up. We're catching up at least. So this is the problem. Do we get out at £13? 2/3 of liability is lost. A third of liability is lost. Or do we get out predetermined amount? We need a goal before the 70th minute, clearly. Otherwise, we're in trouble. But do we initially back over 1.5, lay over 0.5? That covers our present predicament. So you saw it work earlier on with Bolton, very efficiently indeed. That could be the case with Millwall. That would cover the 0-0. But then we'd be in the trouble with a very late goal. 2-1 for Man United, obviously turned up today, but I couldn't check the stats, as you can see there. So let's go through matches which look like a surprise result. No surprise at all there. But had we had a stats feed up, of course, you could have seen the evolution of Aston Villa's away stats, because I've shown you time and time before. They started to warm up away from home, started to get the 2 goals away from home, and it's going to pay for them in the Champions League if they can continue that pattern. So let's go match by match to see any potential score lines which we can investigate. We already know that this looks like a decent play, doesn't it? Second goal and own goal for Almere City. That's what has me hooked on that particular one. Osasuna and Betis, we didn't see any real difference in the in-play stats. Compare that with the 2.3, the favourite, and it's not a match for us to look at. Ordinarily, of course, we'd just waltz straight through this lot. Have a look at Salzburg after 27 minutes. Does it look like they could score a goal before half-time? Again, we have to faff around, open up this, click that. It's totally inefficient, isn't it? So you definitely need an in-play stats if you're going to continue with your trading. And it has to be on the one page. 5 goal attempts, 4 shots on, no shots off target, 2 corners. Again, involved in European club competition, I would suspect, Red Bull Salzburg. So, not convincing me to get involved in the first half. Maybe it's 0-0 at half time. That could be something as well. Odds on favourite at home. Check the in-play stats after 27 minutes to see how they're looking.
Carlisle Harrogate Town is 1-1.
That's Carlisle, yeah. They're a bit late to the party, this lot. That came very early on, as you know. 1 shot on, 1 shot off, 1 corner. No shots on, no shots off, no corners. After 27 minutes, it is a snooze fest for Sturm Graz. Wonder if they're involved in Europe. When you see suspicious stats like that, it's normally a reason. I think Sturm Graz might be involved in Europe. We can double check. Off to Austria we go. Sturm, I think they're Conference League. But even for a small club like that, involvement in Europe will be the distraction, won't it? Yeah, there we go. Sporting Lisbon, no less. Champions League, no less. Now you know.
Carlisle Harrogate Town is 1-1.
Now you know why it's 0-0. For these odds on favourites.
Red card.
Whistle that here. That's a bit thoughty. Right, where were we? We've got to go match by match, haven't we? So we're looking at our odds-ons. So the Austria-Vienna match, the Sturm Graz match, no, I'm not going to be taking on that 0-0. It's quite obvious to me that they are being influenced by the Champions League. They're such a small club. It's such a huge competition. 1.29. I wouldn't back them as stolen money. and I wouldn't be playing overs in this lot either. So 1.4 favourites wouldn't be touching them at all. So this is the old school method. You can see we've got to go all the way down, and then we've got to go all the way back up again and check the stats as they evolve. Hopefully the stats feed will be up tomorrow so we can really check this out. Dukla Prague, 2-1 lead for the newly promoted side. Pardubice up for it. Well, the market fancied Dukla Prague earlier on. Pardubice, and we don't know the timing of the stats either, do we? It's a huge disadvantage of this method, isn't it? But I'm glad I'm able to show you how you can perhaps work when your in-play stats don't work. There are always other places for stats. So working our way through, we've got to go all the way down as well. Championship, Millwall and Derby we know all about. Do I take the hit in the hope that all of the other profits accumulated will cover the hit? It only takes 3 lots of 14 quid profits to cover a singular loss there. And these will be very rare if you go through this day in, day out. Look at all of the goals here. And these are just, oh no, just leave one, sorry. I thought I was looking at my list. So let's go through that. 2-3 Celtic Aberdeen. And again, I can't check that Aberdeen were looking competitive today. It's very frustrating. So this is more like it. We're going to check our odds-ons. Got an immediate focus now. QPR a goal down to newly promoted Pompey. Let's have a look. Dembele, Potts and Lang, goals from open play. 57th minute for the latest one. Have a look at the stats. Particularly, we don't need to look at the first half stats. There's just a specific focus on second half stats, suggesting, well, just the 2 shots on target coming into the 74th minute for QPR. And it's 2-2. Southampton and Leicester. I really, hand on heart, hope you did lay Southampton 2-0 up. And I was shocked that I didn't follow through. So it's the distraction of these stats. Because it's 2-2 now to Leicester. Please, please, please remember, newly promoted sides playing each other, regardless of a 2-0 lead, still going to be competitive. Because psychologically, Leicester think we can beat this lot. Psychologically, Saints think we can beat this lot. So you're going to get a very competitive match. And a 2-0 lead, you can see there, not worth it. And a red card for Saints as well suggests that we lay that late draw. As you can see, if I had the stats feed, I can check Leicester's reaction to the Southampton red. But now we've got to check this out. And it's not giving me anything, is it? Just the 2 shots on target. We don't have attacking pressure index here either to see whether QPR have been consistently having a go at that Portsmouth defence. Do I play or not? This is the problem. The market's telling me potentially we do play. This is telling me it's a newly promoted side. Only the 1 shot on target, despite the 2 goals. So that doesn't make sense either.
Goal. Southampton Leicester is 2-2.
There we go. And Celtic Aberdeen remains 2-2, I think. Just been scrubbed off. So what do we do here? Do I play or not? I don't know what to do. It's not clear. These are not working.
Goal.
So I hope they'll come to the
Leicester is 2-2.
come to an idea about this. This is wrong. 1-1. QPR and Portsmouth. So there we have it. Completely wrong. This is the only route today. Well, let's get rid of matches we don't want. That would be the best thing, wouldn't it? This is an appalling display from Borough. If you got that 0-2 covered, be all right. 1.6 favourite. And again, if we can just check the stats. So if we could see that they weren't happening, we could get out early. But we can't check the stats out.
This market has been suspended.
So let's have a look.
Goal.
2 shots on.
Middlesbrough Bristol City is 0-2. Goal. Middlesbrough Bristol City
Right.
is 0-2.
Yeah, that's.
Goal.
I think we can get rid of that today, can't we? So let's have a look through Lincoln and Birmingham. Well, it's the odds-on favourite. The QPR match. So this is an interesting exercise. It's not the way I want to trade. It's not an efficient way of trading at all, and it's hopefully it's a one-off. Get these stats feeds back up and running tomorrow. Carlisle, we already know, bottom of the league. Redemption style match, already got the equaliser. That's what we were after from Neil Armstrong. First man on the moon. And Robson and Jerome getting substituted there. Not Carlisle and Harrogate. Well, laying the late draw, I suppose, would be an angle there, wouldn't it? Desperate need for goals. Mulder and Sandefjord. 80th minute at 0-1. I bet you Mulder are involved in Europe. So it's probably good that the stats feed is down today, because it'll tempt you. It'll make sure you're not tempted in with these pre-European club competition teams. Mulder, what's this? UEFA Conference League against Ghent. And as I reiterate, sides of these, in these small nations, these are big deals. So
This market has been suspended.
probably the reason why they're struggling. Are we getting accurate stats in Norway? I'm not sure. No, 58 minutes. There we go. So totally inaccurate. We need to look here. Potential equaliser for Mulder. That could be down to the Conference League, you see. Resting some of the names. Knocks the team off kilter. Got a first goal. Millwall and Derby, and it's gone to Derby County. That's going to be a real good lesson for us to see how that impacts on the 1.5 goal market now. What kind of an out do we get with a 79th minute goal? Do we make a profit? You know why we're making a profit? It's because Derby County have scored. Wait for the market to tighten up. And for me, I would have to cash out here, even though that is incredibly tempting. But there's 11 minutes to go. So this has been a great exercise. It all depends on the right team scoring, because it's the away team has scored. That home support is not going to let Millwall off the leash, are they? But I'm cashing out with a break even. So that is a very good flexible technique. If you can get one goal, now we can move that up to 80th minute. If we can get just that single goal, get at least a break even. The earlier the goal, you make the green. The later the goal, if the underdog scores it, highly likely to get a green. If Millwall score it, get it 1-0, unlikely you're going to see a green. So a very interesting exercise there with the 1.5 goals. 79th minute. Sturm Graz have scored against Grazza, the 1.4 favourites. I wouldn't have backed that. Pre-Champions League without any shots on target for the vast proportion of that first half. No, thank you. We were checking Mulder, weren't we? Have we got any late play for Allay of Sandefjord? Typical pre-European scoreline this. You've got to check, you've got to know your pre-European sides. Ordinarily, I'd pile into this. 9 goal attempts. Second half, that's all we need, isn't it? We don't need first half. This is the reaction half for Mulder. 4 goal attempts, 1 shot on, 3 shots off, 2 corners. Ugh. You can see the Conference League distracting them, and notably, a number of these second half substitutions suggesting the first 11 was not put out. That's why you're getting this. I wouldn't put you off a very, very late lay of Sandefjord, or even if you trusted 1.22. I'm going to have a cheeky back of Mr. Scully. Let's have a look. Depends how big the odds are. If you trust the 1.22, you know as well as I do, it's highly likely to be a defeat. European distraction for such a small club. It's just too much for the team and the management to cope with. That liability is probably a little too high relative to the amount of time left in the match. So it should have been a little less than £7. Just the amount of time left, it's probably not. So we want that working for us. We could do with a Mulder goal. with enough time left for the market to suggest a Mulder winner. The only reason I'm doing this, 1.2 pre-match, just in case they are reminded, 6 minutes plus extra time, that they are 1.2 favourite. Celtic Aberdeen, thank you to Bosun for confirming. Don't forget Celtic were done by Dortmund, weren't they? And who have they got upcoming? And had I had that stats feed, I think I would have targeted, if we did get a 2-0 lead, I would have targeted that. But you can see you get knocked off kilter when the great systems you've got in place to make your trading more efficient aren't working. Celtic are playing Atalanta away. Good luck with that. No chance. So that's the reason for 2-2. Celtic Aberdeen. Was it 2-0? It would be disappointing if it was. So that's a real pity there. And another disallowed goal from Duck. Celtic did get a very, very late win against Ross County. Bear that in mind in their last match. So you might want to look at a very, very late action for Celtic. They've got the quality. But maybe it's just an upping in the quality of opponent relative to Ross County. But if you just look at that 88th minute Kuhn goal, might want to target some late action for Celtic in this one. 1.18, suggesting 3 goals at least. A late lay the draw will cover any Aberdeen winner, of course, and they've already scored that 3rd goal and had it disallowed. So let's have a look at that one. I'm sorry I can't do a proper service for you. Stats feeds, I hope, will be back tomorrow. You can see the other route without a proper stats feed is very, very difficult indeed. The draw is at 1.99 currently. It's a bit too high for me. Just be patient. Certainly targetable. So those are our odds-ons. We're expecting goals. So this would alert me to the possibility of over 1.5 goals second half, but likely Salzburg involved in Europe. Second half beginning with Sparta Rotterdam. I hope they're up for it today. Almere City's second goal was an own goal. So that tempted me in. 2-0 for Sturm Graz. So performing like a 1.4 favourite today. But they are pre-Champions League. Again, you sniff a bit of fun. 2-0 lead. Going astray like Bologna's earlier on. And Millwall have done it. 1-1. That would have been 84 quid. And it should have been a play really for a lay of Derby. Because the market told you. The market told you, didn't they? By giving us evens
This market has been suspended.
late on for 1.5. Or not evens, break even. They told you that they fancied that equaliser. Well done to Millwall. That'll keep the fans happy. We've got a goal coming from Sparta Rotterdam, so do check your positions there. Nice early goal, particularly if you went match odds. You had to go match odds, didn't you? So let's have a look at that one. Wait for the market to reform, of course. So we did lay Almere City. We've got 53 on Sparta. We didn't get very good odds. We got... It's because the market was so confident, I think. 1-2, 50th minute, perfectly timed goal from Sparta Rotterdam. Just wait for the market to reform and you'll start seeing any potential profit here. So let's wait with interest there. Well done to Millwall, 85th minute. Potential for a late the draw there because the home support will not be letting them off the leash here with 5 minutes plus extra time to go. Just waiting for this market to reform. Very, very quiet and illiquid, as you can see. Wait for them to get tight, tighter. And we're in with a good opportunity here. What you could do, it's all relative to risk as well, your profit. So that was tripled, that would be 30 quid. So risk reward is about 1-to-1, which I quite like. That's just for a single goal in the 50th minute, okay? Now, that's not risking, that's not worry money, is it? Or it shouldn't be. That should be tempting you in to look for that. And that, if you can get to that, that should be tempting you into stay in for that. Now, what you can do, you can wait for that. If there is no goal, wait for that to go back to 0.00, get out for a break even. And you're buying the amount of time between 0.00 and 9.59 or £9.99, £10.25 now for you to get that Sparta Rotterdam goal. Don't forget, they are at home. They're odds-on favourite. Almir's second goal was an own goal. It just looks nice. We're in a good position here. You can get a near 1-to-1 return risk reward there. So it's a very nice position to be in, isn't it? You're tempted to stay in, get the draw win. You're tempted then to stay in because you've got a draw profit. Almir's odds will go so high you can get rid of that. Tempted to stay in for the 54, and that'll be a nice afternoon's work, won't it? Considering we're going old school, I thought I found that one very nicely. So let's, again, we've got to work our way through, ideally keeping an eye on the odds on favourites today, because we are severely blunted the amount of matches we can check out. So the odds on favourites offers us a list. Cyprus is probably a liquid. Middlesbrough, woeful performance today from them. 1.6. I over-trusted them, really. They weren't showing any shots on target. And again, it's a post-international break, can catch even these lesser lights unawares as well. This lot might have been working on something during the international break that they've brought to this match that the market makers weren't aware of. So that's always an idea. QPR and Pompey, want to have a look for some late QPR action, and that's where the in-play stats will come in, won't they? They'll show you the attacking pressure. That's the greatest tool for picking off late potential equalisers. But the feeds down. And as you can appreciate, from 5 o'clock onwards, it's going to be very difficult for me to provide you with proper service.
Middlesbrough Bristol City is 0-2. Goal. Middlesbrough Bristol City is 0.
Yeah, that's well up to date. Not. There's that goal there. Salzburg, this is one to eye potentially for the second half, but we need to check the stats out. We know it's pre-Europe for Red Bull. So we're going stats and we're just checking out 6 goal attempts, 5 shots on target, none off. It looks like it's an efficient display today against Altec. They're not going gung-ho, but they are the dominant force. Altec haven't had a shot on, off or corner. So your reliance for over 1.5 goals second half will be solely on Salzburg, it would seem. I don't know their first 11, so I don't know whether they've changed with European club football in mind. But that's the reason for doing this list, is to eye these kind of matches. And Millwall keeping up the record just about of goals. If you're looking for a goals shortlist, this could be it, couldn't it? Doing it purely by the pre-match odds. I think all of these are 1.9 and lower as well. So we're not even going to the ultra shorties here. Legnica, odds on AC Milan at 5 o'clock. Pre-Europe, young boys, pre-Europe 1.9. Galatasaray odds on, just scraped through a win last week, 2 weeks ago at 0-1, pre-Europe as well. Cercle Brugge playing newly promoted Dender, who've been the better of the newly promoted sides in the Jupiler League. But having said that, Beerschot got the win against Europa League Anderlecht. Arsenal, I'd be eyeing something around a 0-1. 1-1, 1-2 potential for the Ars, 0-2. We will see. Don't forget, pre-Champions League Bayern, pre-Champions League Stuttgart, who tend to win pre-Champions League. I would be laying a Bayern 2-0 lead, that's for sure. There. I don't like them under Vincent Kompany. I don't think he's... they're going to tolerate too many 1-0 defeats to the likes of Aston Villa in the future. That could have signed his fate, maybe, a bit later on. It's 2-2, Sparta. This is Sparta. Now you're in a wonderful position. Wait for the market to reform. Maybe I should do this old school stuff more often, eh? Sniffing out really good ones like this. Because doing it the old school way, you have to look at the goals being scored. And that's the reason I saw the Almere one, and that gave me the huge boost I needed to stay in. Now you're in a prime position, exactly how I described it to you. You can negate your liability on Almere now, but wait for the market to tighten ship because it is an illiquid market, okay? So that's looking like a nice... Now you can take 24 green if you wanted, okay? But don't take it yet. Please wait for this to tighten up. It does take a while, as you can see here. And we can always be at the behest of another goal coming in for Almere. So it is the Eredivisie after all. It's a goal fest league. So it's taking a while to reform because there's no market forces. So we just have to sit on our hands. Now, £29 green. You fancy that? You like that? So I'll 29 green now, or want to wait and see if you can get the 53. Plenty of time left. Don't forget you've got a number of options at exit, don't you? And this one looks, if you weigh up the amount of time left in the match, the quick response from Sparta Rotterdam, suggesting that the market's got them absolutely bang on the button here today. And the fact that we're not even an hour into the match, they've already got it back to 2-2. Almere will be wilting. And all is well in the world. Clement and Negli, you probably see a fast increase in the second half. Stats here, 3 shots on, 2 off, and 2 corners. Don't forget, if you wanted to, just make sure you don't have to monitor this. If you've got Fairbot, put in £11.40 there. Profit, negate that. Cost you about £1.80. Don't forget you've got an 11-second gap on this match, so do make a decision.
This market has been suspended.
Now you're in a great opportunity here. You're putting all your eggs in one basket. You're willing to take an £8 slight profit, token profit. You've got half an hour to go for a side who scored 2 goals within the first 15 minutes. Logic suggests you stay in and go for the 51, even if it doesn't come in. Okay, but if you want to take the 25, for example, if you played Middlesbrough earlier on, you'll be a bit peeved off with that. Hoover up your greens, like your mum used to tell you. Okay, so I hope you got on that. Yeah, Soccer Scan, everything else is all over the place, Stephen, today. That's why I'm having to go old school, as you can see. So let's have one last look through. Preference. This is why another good reminder to you of why we focus on the odds-on favourites. They're good for trading, aren't they? Particularly when your feed is down. You can check the in-play stats now for Colchester late on. Any chance of an equaliser? Let's have a look. Really good from Carlisle today. Wrong end of the table. Coming out really well. Don't forget, just check the second half stats now. So just the 1 shot on, 3 off, and no corners. It's not looking like Colchester. See, the major negative, again, we don't know the times of those shots on and off target. So if you want to take your football trading seriously, you've got to get an in-play stats feed. I paid for one. £10 a month for soccerscanner.net will do you adequately. In-play Guru, a little bit costlier, but you're getting far, far more bang for your buck. Celtic and Aberdeen, possibility of laying the late draw here. As I say, Celtic get a very, very late winner with Kuhn last time against Ross County. This is a typical pre-Champions League performance. I wish I got on at 2-0, but I've been a little distracted by the stats going awry. I can do my drip laying. you can, I can show you, I suppose, drip laying early. Oh, well,
Suspended.
yabbering on. I was going to say I could show you drip laying early, starting at 1.5 and moving on down, but looks as if I've missed it. Have we got a Celtic or an Aberdeen goal? I wouldn't put it past Aberdeen getting a winner here today. Top of the league, don't forget. But no, Celtic have got the goal to make it 3-2. 94th minute at 1.4. Absolute rip-off. 1.5 to lay Celtic. So I didn't get there in time. I hope you got on earlier on. It would have been a good one to target, particularly with Aberdeen scoring to make it 2-3 earlier on. So that's it, I think. Oh, we've got a late Leicester winner, but you'd have better got out. No, you could have stayed in. Man, sign in if you did follow me or you followed my advice and laid the Saints 2-0 up. As you saw, I was a little shocked that I didn't, because that was a 2-0 is your absolute ideal entry point. So I was very disappointed. You can see now Leicester's odds, their highest high at 2-0. This is why I tell you to back sides 2-0 down and lay sides 2-0 up. This is, you're talking dream world here, of course. Realistic, 20s, 30s. Yeah, a couple of opportunities, 20s. This is, you're talking absolute dream world up here. 20s, you'd have been delighted, wouldn't you? That's probably half time there, isn't it? Wow. That's a gentle reminder to you to look on in the future. You saw earlier on Como and Palmer, very competitive, both newly promoted. Southampton, Leicester, both newly promoted, very competitive. So watch out. They are going to be competitive fixtures, newly promoted ones, particularly when you've had a bad start to the season and you desperately need points. It remains 2-2, Celtic and Aberdeen. Still think there might be a late goal in this one. Probably, cheekily enough, Aberdeen corner perhaps. So we're at 1.39. How would I start dripping? Well, drip to win £2, backing Celtic, drip to lay the draw. Just keep doing that and see what happens. But it's a big gap. There's 14 seconds. So we'll see the kind of liability you'll get there. The way laying the draw as well as backing Celtic, it covers if Aberdeen score as well. But you're going to be loading your position on the side that you fancy to get that third of the 5 goals. But as you can see, the liability is starting to get bigger and bigger. If you continue along this way, you can see it's up to 288. My drip laying to win £50, liability of £4.40, starting at 1.25 though. I've started a lot earlier, and I've also included favouring one particular team. So that's to win £2. I'm backing Celtic to win £2 at 5. It's going to cost you not much. So you're building up the position on Celtic. You've also got the Aberdeen position covered with a little less. And you're up to £4. You're up to double figures with Celtic already. So that's an option of drip laying if you fancy one particular team over the other. And you're still going to profit if the opponent scores, which is appealing. So every now and again, as the odds increase on Celtic, back them again. As the odds decrease on the draw, lay that again. You're building up a nice low liability position with a decent enough return at the end of it. So £4, £5 on the draw, £16 on Celtic, 3-1 return there. And we've still got a bit of the match to go, as you can tell by the odds. Both teams, don't forget, have had goals disallowed in the second half, which is what you want to see when you're taking on 2-2s. So let's just wait for this to drop down a little bit more and have another go. There's Dundee United 2-2. They know what they're doing. Southampton Leicester didn't end 2-2. Great result for Leicester, particularly if you back them at whopping odds. I wish I passed it on. I hope I passed it on to Telegrammers. I sincerely hope I did. because that'd be a very nice afternoon's work. So again, back down there, up that one, 28s. So back to Aberdeen. Down. That's to win £2 though, so the liability will be minuscule. So you can see the Celtic odds get bigger and bigger. So the amount risked to win the £2 gets smaller and smaller, and your position gets bigger and bigger. Your liability remains reasonably worry-free, but still a decent amount of the match to go. So I'll see you through this match. Don't forget, they're probably going to be a bit less telegrams for you this evening because of the issues with the in-place stats. Just it's real laboured, isn't it? I'll do the old school method and just note the odds on favourites if the underdog scores first. That would be the best method for me to do when the stats feed is missing. So the draw odds are going up, which means the market's giving it some extra time, I would suggest. That in itself could be a trading strategy, couldn't it? Start laying the draw. And then, have we got the goal?
This market has been suspended.
And who scored it? It doesn't matter who scored it. We'll of course, prefer Celtic to have scored it. But we'll still get half again if Aberdeen score it. So we've got a suspended market. It's at pen. What is it? Is it a card? Plenty of extra time. That's why the draw odds rose. You might get a trading strategy out of that, maybe. Lay the draw 85th minute. And if you get a whole bunch of extra time, the draw odds will rise and you can scalp out of that. So I don't know, maybe a couple of substitutions late on for Aberdeen, maybe defensive subs. I don't know. McCowan on, Ida, Maeda and Hatate. So just changing things a little bit with the Champions League to come. Suspended market, not sure what's going on, but this is an interesting exercise, and let's show you the end of a match and how you can potentially load your profit on a favoured team. So I'll be seeing you soon, saying goodbye soon, just waiting for something to happen there. So if you get this problem in the future, here's what I would recommend. Okay, list pre-match all 1.95 favourites and lower, and only work those matches. That will give you a short list of quality candidates to have to go through all this rigmarole of checking the stats out in play. Okay, like that, bang, and then clicking on that, checking out all this lot in play. Okay, so next time you have a problem like that, make sure you've done your odds on favourites pre-match and just focus on those matches solely. Shortens the workload, doesn't it? Because you're having to go through manually when the stats feed doesn't work. So we'll see the Celtic match through, see if there is going to be a late goal. I don't know what's wrong here. I suggest it might be an injury, perhaps. So, not too sure here. No, don't know what's going on. We don't get a commentary for the SPL, which is a pity. Well, I brought Engels on, or is he coming off? A bit of philosophy late on for Celtic. So I think I'll say goodbye to you now. You know what the draw is, what the deal is. We're just waiting for that goal to come in. Thanks very much for coming along. I'm sorry. Well, I'm apologising on behalf of the stats feed. The data feed obviously missing. That's a huge problem for us. So I will only be focusing on the odds on favourites today. And that short list. And only when I see a potential play will I pass it on. Have a great day. Thanks very much for coming along. It's great to see you. Hopefully we get another live stream in tomorrow. But if the in-place stats feeds are not working, there's no point doing a live stream, is there? It's a bit of a slog. Thanks very much for coming. See you again later, and I might see you on Telegram